Oh, hello, and welcome to
You okay, Cultist? It's okay, get it all out. It's fine.
Welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. You said you're evil.
Feel better now?
Yes.
That's good. And I'm the gamer in yellow.
Right.
And I can keep my puke inside.
You're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta and most gross, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have, by special demand, the Pancake Family.
Special demand?
So this was suggested to us by Charcoal Man.
Charcoalman?
Yeah, Charcoalman.
Charcoalman?
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible.
Say fast enough, it'll be like just like charcoal.
Yeah, like John Charcoalman.
Yeah, exactly. And we're doing the Pancake Family, which is by AA Peterson, like AA Peterson. It's on Reddit No Sleep, or it started off there, and then you can also check it out at creepypasta.wiki. I guess we'll just dive right into the rundown. So,
did you look into the original story?
I couldn't.
Why?
I actually had an issue with my access to Reddit because I need to actually log into Reddit to view this content.
Oh,
so and I need to make a Reddit account.
Oh, I see.
And my computer was being really laggy that day.
Well, you are using a Mac, so it's understandable.
I am, yeah. But anyway, so I only got to experience it through the Creepypasta wiki.
Me as well.
So did you not check it out through Reddit?
I tried the link, it didn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Back to the rundown. We are reading a transcribed statement of a retired detective, Hobson Millgate. 20 years ago, he was in charge of a missing family case where the Driscolls...
It's not Drisking. I'll
get to that.
We're not in Drisking anymore.
I'll get to that. Where the Driscolls were abducted from their home and never found. The suspect used stolen CO2 gas canisters to kind of like gas the family they suspected and like move them out of the house, except for the one daughter who like obviously woke up during the thing and there was a scuffle. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, and like even the gas canister like stuff, like none of their leads panned out. Like the cops were pursuing and like continued that way for about 20 years. Got to 20 years later, in the present, and Hobbs gets yet another lead that may or may not be a hoax because he's been getting a ton of them over the years regarding the Driscolls. So we cut to the present, 20 years later, and Hobb gets yet another lead that may or may not be a hoax. He's not in charge of the cold case anymore, but wanting to help out his fellow man, the guy who is in charge of it, decides to follow up on...
Is someone still investigating it?
Well, there's somebody still in charge of it.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily being... But because they keep getting, like, hoax, like, potential...
If something comes in, it goes to someone, but they're not actively looking for things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And because this is kind of a personal thing for him, or for Hobb, he decides to give the guy a hand and just do the paperwork and, like, make sure it's not a hoax or not, or it's a hoax or not.
Because the other guy doesn't have a name, I'm naming him Calvin.
Cool.
So it's Calvin Hobbs.
Yeah, Calvins and Hobb.
There you go.
Because Hobb just does... Yeah. Anyway.
The S from Hobbs goes on to Calvin. Exactly. It's fine. Just
go. So he meets a reporter, Miss Bammer. Miss Balmer? Miss Bamer? I have the name, I just don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Miss Bammer. Who has a confession/address to go find the Driscolls. Like, who done it, kind of stuff like that. Although, we don't really get a name of who did it, just there's a confession letter kind of thing. And seeing this as a potential not hoax, they agree to go to the address the next day, which is... and the address itself is actually really old. Like, Miss Balmer had to use city documents rather than use, like, modern techniques to actually find the address, because it hasn't been used in decades.
As an aside, I really thought it was Barner. Barner, because the R and
That's fair.
RN together, close together, looks like an M. I hate the English language. Move on. I'm just going to learn like Japanese or something from now on.
That's fair.
Just pick another language.
When they arrive, it is an old factory ruin. However, it is padlocked, and some work has been done to it, at least to like the interior. Like there's hints of it, and there's also a hint of corpse rot or like a really weird, like rancid smell. They break in and discover specialized cells with hydraulic compressors over medical beds with IV drips, but no people.
Like they're on either side of the warehouse, and there's like a hall in the middle.
Yeah,
and they don't connect to each other, but they just connect to the hall.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when they hear a gasp sound coming from like a basement, or from like stairs that go down to a basement, which has been dug out of like from underneath this like factory. They down in the basement. Hob finds the Driscolls, who have been slowly and meticulously and medically squished to 4 inches in thickness each.
Was there an actual?
There
measurement?
was, yes. It was the pile itself is about 2 feet, but they said, but that makes no sense because it's 4 inches. Each of them is 4 inches, and there's like 5 of them. Well, no, it says 4 inches was like the lowest. So like maybe like because I remember like they're saying that the head wasn't like was thicker than the rest of the body. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so yeah, they find a pile of Driscolls all flattened down meticulously. And like this was all done to ensure that they survived this process. And they are like they have like tubes and stuff like that to make sure they like are breathing and whatnot.
I guess their lungs can't really expand anymore.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like medically, their bodies have adapted to being pressed down over 20 years by those presses upstairs. Mm-hmm. It's Cronenberg-esque in terms of its body horror. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they were stacked like pancakes, given respiratory aid, and just left there in a pile, seemingly for when Hob would show up. In a panic, Hob fiddles with the air machine and startles the pile. The top one screams and begs for death. I don't know why I was laughing at that. That was kind of morbid, but
it's the kind of laugh to be like, I'm really uncomfortable right now.
I'd be crying if I was laughing right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They appear to be surgically scarred and blind, and don't realize that their family is also there. Thinking that they are somewhere safe and trying to find them. While Hobbs tries to calm them down, Miss Balmer shows up and freaks out and lets it slip that they are all there, in fact, causing a cacophony of hopelessness and misery for them. Hobbs does the only humane thing and kills them, shooting all of his rounds to make sure none of them linger in life and suffering. The two then flee upstairs and call for backup. And that's about when the statement is finishing up. Hob, who has been having a hard emotional time dealing with the recollections, understandably, is getting a sedative and asks about Miss Balmer, who seemed to have it worse, or like seemed to just be like kind of like fully dissociated from the whole thing. And then we discover that she gave false information, like that's not her real name, that's not her real... She doesn't actually work at the paper she said she worked at. And then she just vanishes. So, possible tie to the torturer? The end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was the Pancake Family. On to... Everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions!
You did it!
Yeah! Damn! Going on to this quote here. It drew my attention further on. I had to act. That's all that matters. This has been the most notable grammar issue of the story. This is like near like the end of like the pages, like near the file, like near like the final like section of the paper of the story. And this whole story is a transcript of dialogue technically, but nitpick. Fuck it, I'm gonna nitpick. It should be that matters, not the matters. Just say it. And then another one is until they've been flattened, like pancakes. Or sorry, until they've been flatted, like pancakes. It's supposed to be flattened. Flatted actually isn't a word.
Fair.
Yeah. And
Also,
that's my...
before you continue,
Okay.
I looked trying to find that like 4-inch thick thing you're talking about. The closest I could find is they were squished a 1/4 inch every year for 20 years. I did all the math. It comes out to about 2.5 feet thick for all 6 of them. So it is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And that's it. All estimation stuff.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. And that's my grammar positions. So, Mikey, what do you got? Nothing, because it's dialogue.
Well,
I know.
the only issue that I found is the following sentence. Since she contacted me, I figured I'd check it out for him as a courtesy. And
Yes.
he'd only mentioned her 2 paragraphs ago, so the idea of like who she is gone from your mind because we're 3 paragraphs from that point.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't want to assume gender on this.
No.
person.
The him in that is the guy that's covering the cold case.
I understand that.
Okay,
I'm making it funny.
Okay, sorry. I didn't
Yeah.
catch.
Saying that like this person that's giving me information refers to her as her and then immediately he because he doesn't want to assume gender.
Yeah.
Haha, funny joke, move on.
Well, easily fixed by like since the reporter contacted me.
Yeah.
Or give the other guy a name.
Yeah, I should give the other guy a name.
The other guy does have a name. Warren Carroll.
Oh.
Well then.
It's okay. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you clapping like an asshole for?
I handed the investigation over to Detective Warren Carroll when I retired.
Okay, never
Yep.
mind.
Yep.
So, could just put a name there. It's fine.
Yeah, just put like Detective Carroll or Warren.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So, do you have any grammar impositions?
Yeah. I got a couple. Let's see. It would have been 20 years ago now. As I've said, 20 years ago, there was a disappearance. I find it odd that you repeat yourself like that.
I mean,
It's a verbal tick.
yeah, and I mean it is dialogue, but I do hear you like narratively. Like, don't try not to repeat too much. I actually have the same issue with my actual thoughts with his request for sedative. He keeps asking for it. It's like,
Well, he's jonesing for it because he wants to...
And yeah, no, I get that. It's just, I just feel like it was done too many times. Like, is this going to go anywhere? Is this going to lead anywhere? And it kind of does at the end, but it's like,
No, it doesn't.
I feel like kind of like it's like you should did you give Miss Balmer a sedative kind of thing because she's gonna have it worse than I did or something like that. But like I feel like maybe just like as a from a narrative, I know it's like dialogue wise it makes sense because he's jonesing for it. So but from a narrative point of view, like reading it and some of that felt like it was used one too many times.
Well,
I'm not even talking about sedatives, but yeah.
Yeah.
for that specifically, since we're already talking about it, it was actually a red herring for me.
Okay.
Because I was thinking, he's going to get a sedative and he's going to become a pancake man.
Yeah, that's
That was
true.
one of my potential endings I wrote down.
Gotcha.
But either way, with the thing
sorry.
that I brought up, with the double 20 years ago, it could be corrected with, let's see, it would have been 20 years ago now, there was a disappearance.
Yeah.
Like, comma, there was a disappearance. But, yeah, it's dialogue, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that point, he's like distraught because of what he's seen. So he's
like sputtering.
Yeah.
Trying to saying things over and over again, like we do when we're talking, and like, or at least what I do when I'm talking sometimes, and I talk too fast, and then I lose my train of thought and try to rebuild it again.
I wish you, like, committed to a joke in that. Like, actually started talking quicker and stuff.
I know, I wish I had, but yeah.
It's gone. The magic's gone.
Yep. Let's move on.
The second one. It was a wooden structure, and the first conditions seemed to match the neighboring buildings, comma. However, I noticed the facade had been recently patched in a few locations. I feel like it needs a comma. Specifically... Where did I put the comma? Oh, yeah. It was a wooden structure, but it was a wooden structure at... Oh, jeez. Okay, this is why it confused me. It was a wooden structure, and at first, comma, the conditions seemed blah, 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 blah. Because when I first read it, the at first made me stumble.
Yeah.
Because there's a wooden structure, and at... I don't know. It was just weird for me. I don't know if that should be comma specifically, but for me, it would have been good, because I I stumbled over and had to reread it because there was no comma.
Gotcha.
And that's all I got.
Okay. So on to actual thoughts. So starting with my first quote. Name of Stacy Bammer. She contacted me a week ago by email and claimed she had new information about the Driscoll's murders. Oh God. For a brief moment, we talked about this a little bit, we mentioned this slightly in the rundown, but for a brief moment I was like, I thought it said Drisking. And I was like, we're back in Nebraska! No! And then I realized, it's the Driscolls.
Yeah, I kind of thought that as well. That's why.
And I was like, whew. Moving right along, on to the next one. The wife had an online flirtation with some kid out in England, but nothing adulterous, and he wasn't even in the country at the time of the murder. In 1994, okay, I guess AOL and stuff like that was back in 1994. Like the internet, like I was like kind of just questioning the internet kind of thing, like online, like stuff like that. Yeah. But like I remember like as early as like 1994, so we had like access to like really shitty dial-up internet and stuff. Yep. So that kind of thing was the thing. I just like when I read it, it was like, I was like, did I just catch a plot hole here with the internet? It's like, no, it checks out. Mm-hmm.
I personally would have erased my note at that point.
I probably should have, but I was like...
no, that's your thought process as you're going through it, so that's fine.
Yeah. I'm nothing if not transparent about my flaws in this story, in this podcast.
My flaws are all hidden.
Yeah.
Like me, because I'm a ninja. Look in the shadows.
The yellow ninja.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next quote. The confession letter said... Stop printing lies. I never killed anyone. It just took a while to get them ready for breakfast. There was no signature included. I just remembered something. God damn it. We got sent a breakfast menu on a month after the disappearances. Someone had drawn a red circle around a pitcher of pancakes. The letter said, they're not dead. They're getting ready for breakfast. We put it in the junk lead file. Oh, God. So, that little, like, quote caption there I just did. I really like that revelation, like, in the narrative, like, as he's recalling the stuff, he realizes they missed a clue. Mm-hmm. In, like, 20 years ago. Like, they missed that clue, and that could have been vital to something. Or, like, at least, like, give a hint as to what was about to go down. It shows the distress of realizing you missed something and shows the characters has flaws, and it was great for me, like, to read that. It was like I actually got some, like, goosebumps as he realized that, because it was like, oh, fuck. Like, because nobody likes, like, no one likes, like, when they realize they missed something. Hmm. So you can really, like, empathize with that character at that moment.
The only issue I have is remembering something 20 years ago.
I know, but I mean,
from a case that was cold.
Yeah, but sometimes if you've obsessed over it over 20 years, like
plus he's needing to remember everything now, so sometimes things click.
Exactly. Yeah, mm-hmm. Like things do click. It's not all like false memories. Yeah. Like actually. Bring up an example. Yesterday on Twitter, somebody showed an image of Friar Tuck eating from Rocket Robin Hood, and I was like, "Holy shit, it's Rocket Robin Hood!" I remember watching that as a kid, and that was about 20 years ago or so. And like, I just needed the image. I didn't even need the title or the title or anything. I knew exactly where that Friar Tuck character was from.
Like, never even heard of it.
Oh, it's actually a Canadian broadcast. Like, it was on the Retro Ontario Twitter feed.
Also, it would be gloriously horrible.
Oh, yeah. It's like...
Anyways, move on.
It's worse than Hanna-Barbera. Like, in terms of, like, the animation technique. Like, an early 1960s animation technique. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, still, like... Anyway, yeah, I'm getting sidetracked. Moving on to the next thing. Another quote. Or a quote segment. I could smell something from inside the building. Very faintly. I figured that would count as probable cause. Not that I needed it as a civilian, but you never forget the way a corpse smells. They were bad enough they had that same smell. I hadn't forgotten how to pick a lock, so I let myself in. I really do wish they had been corpses. I really do wish he had been a serial killer. I really do. Do you believe me? Please say you believe me. So, reading that, this really got my curiosity flaring. Like, very well done establishing suspense, because, like, at this point, you don't know that they're dead, or they're not dead, and you don't know the state they are in. Especially with the image that the story has. Like, I don't know if you guys have, like when you Google, or when you Google the Pancake Family creepypasta, the only real image I got, or the central image I ever got, was just a bunch of people with and a dog with pancakes on their face. That's the only image. That's the image I find when I found like prominent for the story. So, like, I didn't really know what to expect until he went into the basement.
Yeah, it's good that they don't just straight up show it like in the picture.
Yeah. But yeah, that suspense, like, of that moment in the story is really good for, like, getting your, like, curiosity. What the fuck? What happened to this family? Like, how'd they die? Or, like, how'd they go? So moving on to the next one. The smell was stronger inside the rooms. The rooms contained presses, hydraulic presses, 4 feet by 8 foot custom presses. I couldn't figure out what they were at first, because they were hovering over what looked like hospital beds. There were IV bags in each room, as well as other medical equipment. That's how he kept them alive for so long, of course. And all I'm thinking is this going to go Junji Ito's Amagira Fault story? Like, we're going to get, like, somebody goes through, like a hole that's human-shaped, and then on the other end of the fault line, there's another set of holes, but they're all twisted and stuff like that, and then you just, like, get that revelation of that the people over a few months slowly moved through this hole and got twisted and melted into these, like, grotesque forms, and they're still alive, just moving toward the end of the hole, and they're just like durr, durr, durr. And then my update, yep, it went that route.
Yeah, kind of.
Yep, with the slow, like, would you call it mutilation of the human body?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the slow mutilation, like the slow living mutilation of the human body over 20 years. Much more kind of more believable in this one than Junji Ito's Amagira Fault, because that took over the place of, like, I think a couple months, not like years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like that grotesque body horror angle really sold it for the story. And then here's kind of a quote for a moment of character. I had to make a judgment call as to whether or not I should proceed on my own in case the family was somehow, impossibly, still alive and perhaps in danger, or if I should leave and call for backup. And you should have called for backup, because that was icky.
Backup wouldn't have helped.
I know, it wouldn't have helped, but I mean, like, at least you wouldn't have to be, like, the first person on the scene.
Well, but backup would have kept Mrs. Balmer there.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the next one, actually, this is basically the last line of the story. She seemed to have it worse than me after. Poor woman couldn't even throw up or cry. Interviewer. Of course. Do you know where she is now? She told the lead at the crime scene she was going home, but we haven't been able to reach her. Did you try the paper? Interviewer. Which paper? The Daily World. Interviewer. Are you sure? There is no Stacey Baumer on staff with the Daily World. And I was just like, I personally didn't see that coming. But, like, somehow that she was put, like, in on it. Like, that she might have been, like, that that when they allude that, like, she was in on it, I didn't catch anything of that in the story.
There's a lot of hints through the story.
I know, I'm sure there is, but I just didn't catch them. And I was like, I can't believe they pulled The Cave on me. Because in the movie The Cave, the ending, like, the...
Spoilers!
Spoilers for The Cave, 2009, 2005 movie. The lead actress or ends up becoming the vector for the thing that's in the cave. And
Angela's the killer.
Angela's the killer. And spoilers for a 1980s film. She's a boy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the end of my grammar thoughts. That's the end of my actual thoughts. So, Mikey, what do you got?
So, in my opinion, the people being turned into pancakes doesn't really work because, yes, humans adapt.
Yeah.
But you would much more likely get stuck to the presses.
They greased them.
There's a lot of Pam.
they're custom ones, so they're non-stick presses.
Yeah, just like the George Foreman. That
Exactly.
And the reason why I say they get stuck to the presses is because there was a news article a few years ago where a woman got fused to a toilet seat for sitting on it for 6 months.
Ugh. Ugh.
Why was she sitting on it for 6 months?
Was she alive?
Yeah.
Ugh.
They had to surgically remove a toilet seat from her.
Why? I'm so curious. Why though?
Could she just not move?
Well, she decided that that's where she wanted to sit, and her boyfriend was okay with it and fed her. And
that is okay. That's a creepypasta in itself.
Yeah, kind
That
of.
is literally a creepypasta in itself. Like a horror, like going off of like almost like a hoarder or like that kind of like horror. Oh, I'll take my Pancake Family, thank you, over Toilet Woman.
But okay, even if that's true, this is someone who has specifically wanted this end result.
Yes.
So if they're smart enough to know how to do that and like do surgery to remove bone so they can do it, they would know enough to be like, okay, you get pressed for this long, then I'll lift you up, get a little scraper and scrape you off.
Or like
reset.
Again, like I said, just have some kind of have the bottom of the press be like a non-stick kind of like material.
That's easy to come by nowadays. I don't know about back then.
Teflon existed back in the 80s.
Just Pam it.
Yeah. Just Pam it. Just keep like they'll just like quickly. They just keep applying Pam.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, of course, like this is like kind of like this is what horror does. It takes something that like you wouldn't like. It takes things like body dysmorphia or body mutilation like this. Like look at the giraffe-necked people that you see in Ripley's Believe It or Not, or like the alien skulls of the Inca. Like they basically took the person and slowly applied pressure to like change the body.
Yeah.
To that stuff, and like.
Yeah,
like this is like trying to invoke a sense of body horror that is so extreme that it's just like, oh, and they're still fucking alive. It's like very Cronenberg in terms of like the body horror and mutilation of like the like just again like the make a body so that it's not even like really human anymore or something like that. But yeah, like
and then. The ability of the top pancake to be able to talk.
That is a feat.
Yeah, I would expect more gurgling noises than...
I mean, there kind of was, but...
Yeah, it said, like, it was hard to understand, but this is what I got out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like maybe maybe to slightly improve it, like, for the story, I might have, you might have Hobbs say that, like, this is like the gist of what I got from it. Like this isn't his exact words, but this is like kind of what I was able to like.
He straight up did.
Does it say that? Okay. Then then I don't see the problem.
So you go find it real quick. It was a strain to understand what he said, but I'll never be able to forget it. And then he goes over saying what he said.
So yeah, he does like basically give like this is the gist of what I heard kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's not going to be like, this is what they said.
That being said, like, there could be another line explaining why it was so difficult to understand.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what I got out of it.
Yeah.
And the question that was sort of left unanswered for me anyway is, whose breakfast were these people prepared for?
It's for Hobbs.
Yeah. It's just like it's a performance piece, or it's a creepy performance piece. It's like, look at my artwork.
It's straight up for Hobbs.
Yeah. Yeah, because Hobson was it's actually very much like a detective story, and like a noirish detective story, where like the killer is taunting the lead detective
For 20 years.
Again, like I brought up a while ago, like a South Korean like detective horror movie about two detectives who ruin their lives trying to find a killer, and 10, 20 years go by, and like the detective's no longer even like a detective anymore, and he goes by the place. He just happens to be like doing delivery work, and he like happens to buy the tunnel where all the killings happened, and he sees a little girl there, and asks her like what she's looking at, and she basically says that like she saw somebody out here looking in there as well, and when she asked her what he was looking at, it was, I'm trying to recall something I did here a long time ago. And it was like, what? Who is the guy? Where'd he go? It's like, I don't know. And that's the end of the movie. It literally ends with like the detective just like, he was like, they almost crossed paths. The killer and the detective almost crossed paths again.
Yeah.
And he missed his chance again. I was just like,
He missed.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just like that kind of thing where like the killer is just taunting the detective because like he's got an audience now. It's like it's a piece of art. It's a piece of performance art for the. In
film. Your example, I don't know if he was directly trying to taunt him, but yeah, it did come off like that unintentionally. Another
suggestion, actually, a video game one. In Fallout 4, there is actually a sewer that you can go into, and you find a like 200-year-old set of messages of a killer to a detective, and over the course of that plot line, spoilers for Fallout 4, go check out that sewer. It's actually really cool. You find out that the killer is like set up all these like horrible like death like displays in the sewer system and left a tape specifically for the detective. And then at the end, you find actually the killer and the detective are in an embrace in a corner. Like they would like basically like because I think the detective ended up being like a woman, and the killer had a fascination for the detective.
Okay.
So again, like the killer got the it's kind of hinted at that the killer got caught the detective while she was exploring the same sewer system that you're exploring, and fell into the trap of the killer. So again, another thing of like the killer kind of like creating some presentation for the detective as a way of taunting them. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Being flattened reminds me of Looney Tunes, or even Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. That's the... Yeah. Dr. Doom was... Or... What's his name? Dr. Doom?
It was something like that.
Something Doom. That ending scarred me as a child.
Maybe that's why this story hit home.
It probably is. Like, when somebody... Or, it's this and, like, Tammy and the T-Rex. Because there's a character in Tammy and the T-Rex, like a henchman of the main villains, who gets flattened, like gets stomped on by the T-Rex. And when his masters find him like the next day, he's completely flattened. And the one character's talking to him as if he's still alive. But like, and I always had nightmares of like him starting to reply to the character.
Oh, that's nice.
But it's just this gross, just like he gets he like falls over, and the T-Rex just keeps walking over, and it's
Lovely.
Yeah. I think squish horror is just really effective for me.
And my last note here before final thoughts is the whole sort of pancake stack description reminded me of Dogscape.
You're not wrong. Yeah, little Dogscape. It's that same kind of body horror. Yep. And that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Cute. So the start of the story goes, and there's like banter back and forth, and then the interviewer goes, "Take your time, Hob," and then Hob says, "Thanks," closes his throat, and then there's these huge blocks of text after that. So it almost seems like he's like, the interviewer's like, "Take your time, Hob," and Hob's like, "Thanks," and he picks up a paper like for an essay, a freaking essay he wrote to like say it on recording. It's just like at that point, it seemed like it was a different sort of writing style almost.
Yeah. One thing I might add on to that, I feel like we should have gotten, like, since I know this is basically all dialogue, I feel like we should have gotten, like, since interviewer is basically just, like, interviewer, semicolon or colon?
Colon.
and then his dialogue. But then suddenly it's just Hob starts talking. Like, there was a couple of moments where it was like, oh, it's Hob talking now, okay. And, like, maybe that's because of the way it was formatted for when I read it, but, like, it felt like it might have been formatted differently on the Reddit or even on the creepypasta.wiki. But when I read it through the Google Doc for my comment, like, to comment and stuff on it, there was it was hard to, like, sometimes differentiate between Hob and the interviewer until we got the interviewer's, like, block.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe have Hob as well, or Hobson.
Mm-hmm. Because it could just start with Hob, and then as soon as it switches to interviewer, say interviewer.
Yeah. And
then switch back to Hob, but you don't have to say Hob every damn line that he says.
Yeah.
Just at the switches, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that could help.
Like, just when it's, like, specific, because, like, there's a couple of ones where, like, the paragraph break, there isn't really much of a paragraph break between interviewer and the Hobbs lines.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I personally didn't have a problem with it, but I can see how it's possible to get that confused.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, it seemed like it was a weird switch in perspective. It's a slightly different writing style at this point because of how it's bigger and blockier, not just, like, short little things. And, like, the way it was said, it sounded like he sat down and wrote it all out properly and everything, almost like this part of the story was made first and then the interviewer section was made after the fact as a wraparound.
Like, yeah, like he did the main story and then, like, he wanted to kind of flare it up with, like, making a transcript of, like, a statement. So he added in, like, dialogue, like, actual, like, kind of more believable, like, natural dialogue that, like, to put in spots like the sedative stuff and whatnot.
Yeah. And my next one, I tried to tell Miss, it's Bammer, right? Barner.
Bammer.
Whatever. I tried to tell Miss Bammer to leave several times. She refused on the grounds that it would not be right to leave me on my own. At this point, I'm like, you're a cop. He's a retired cop, but he's still a cop investigating a lead to a serial killer's place. You should have called for backup. Like, as soon as you get there, it's like, okay, it's a creepy warehouse. Mm-hmm. You pick the lock, open the door. Okay, it smells like dead bodies. George, can you come help me out?
Warren? Yeah, we got a lead on the Driscoll's case.
I smell dead bodies.
It's like, I think I found the serial killer's lair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, like, I brought that up earlier. Just like, like, he should have called for backup.
Like, right there.
Yeah. Well, the problem is it's explained that there was no cell signal in that area.
Was there no cell signal in the area or in the warehouse? Because I thought it was the warehouse.
It was said in the warehouse, I believe. Yeah. But regardless, even if it was in the area, smell it. It's like, okay, I'm going to call for backup. I don't have signal. Okay, I'll get back in the car, get signal.
Exactly, yeah.
And then...
I mean, like, this is the other, like, this is the crux of every horror story. It's like, if the character played smart, we wouldn't have a story.
Yes, we still would.
Would we?
Yeah, because all that would be different is cops would show up, and then they would go in, and then, like, it would be the cops telling the story instead of Hob.
Or, like, the story, I guess, couldn't even still have Hob, because Hob was now a backup, but it doesn't help. It's kind of like a Cthulhu thing. The GM for a Call of Cthulhu scenario can give the agents all the guns you want, because it's not going to fucking matter. You're going up against Cthulhu. You're fucked. Yeah. Like, that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it's like, have that kind of horror where, like, yeah, it doesn't matter. These characters, I mean, yeah, the Pancake Family's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it wouldn't really change the outcome, but it would make it a little bit more believable.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like this retired guy, like, with all the balls in the world.
But he is.
Yeah.
He's a flawed character.
Mm-hmm. And then we get to the reveal of the Driscoll family, under the presses for 20 years, keeping them alive on IV drips, increasing the pressure on them very slowly, and their bodies had time to adapt until they had been flattened like, well, pancakes. At this point, I'm like, really? I've officially checked out now.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like the descriptor of that. It made me giggle. It's just the idea of them being pancakes is, I understand if you're, just like everything else, if you're actually there, it's scary.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's some weird thing, even if it's a little tiny little creature, if whatever in any creepypasta, if you're there, it's scary. But to the reader, at least to me, it really wasn't that scary because it's pancakes. Like, they could have went one step further, made them waffles.
I understand where you're coming from. I don't share, like, I was personally grossed out and creeped out by the story, by the description. But I can see why you like, because we have very different opinions on like when we read something, because like I don't know, I just visualize it differently, or I use that descriptor and try and like my brain tries to see that in a horrific way, whereas you take it more matter of factly, and you're like what like
I understand getting into this. I read this title as the Pancake Family, so I was like, okay, pancakes are involved. Those are horrible. And I didn't know where it was going to go. And like you said earlier, up to that point, there was all this build-up, and I was with you there. Like, I was really interested. Like, what's going on? Like, I really want to know what's happened to these people. And then they're pancakes.
Would it have been better if they had not used the word pancake? Like, if they just described it as them being flattened over there, and that's it. Like, not.
Yeah, it's the fact that the word ruined it.
Yeah, I think, and that is that can make or break a horror story, and not just like in general, but like by reader basis, because it didn't ruin it for me, but it ruined it for you. Mm-hmm. So like, I can see like you got more of the funny out of it, or more of a giggle out of it than horror, and I got more of the horror out of it.
Yeah, and I understand why he used the word pancakes specifically. Well, like after he realizes that clue from the past, circled the pancakes, and then the was it the confession that said something about them not being ready? I didn't kill anyone.
I didn't kill anybody. I was just prepping them for breakfast.
Yeah, like there's all this breakfast related pancake stuff, so I understand, but
I mean, technically they weren't true pancakes as they weren't in a frying pan.
But they're prepared. They're done. They're stacked.
The pancake.
My real problem is there's no maple syrup.
I know, right? Like, yeah.
Like, seriously. Like, all this time, the murderer could have been, like, collecting bile and stuff like that, and, like, drizzle it over them.
Oh, yeah, that makes it worse.
Yeah. And it would have made it worse. It would have made me like it more, because that's disgusting.
It would have been, like
how much visceral
horror.
How much they commit to it. Mm-hmm. Just like a big glass of like urine.
Not even bile. Like, just actual maple syrup. Like, that's even worse. Like, he was actually like pouring real maple syrup on it. That's even like defiling the purity that is maple syrup. Sugar or like syrup of the trees.
That's true.
Like, like
that's horrifying.
Yeah, as a Canadian, I can't like that to me is the true horror.
Yeah.
If that had been the case. But yeah, no, again, like I said, like I understand why it's not scary to you, but why that part stopped making it scary for you.
It's just the word that ruined it.
Yeah.
This happened to me previously in a lot of other stories, like the bunny man curse ruined it for me because he's a bunny. It says the word bunny, which is not scary.
But if you saw, again, like in that situation, if there's a fucking killer with like a madman with a bloody bunny costume on coming after you, you're running, you're scared.
Oh, I know. And I said that earlier as well.
Yeah,
In every single creepypasta in the world, if you are in that situation, it is scary.
Yeah.
It's just from the third person's perspective, it's not as scary, potentially.
Yeah, there is a percentage of readers who are going to read this story and read those other stories and hear that and just like disengage because of their own context to that word kind of thing, like ruins the story for them, and that's just kind of a personalized, like subjective thing.
I also don't think the pancake people were described well enough. Like, for example, like what happened to their arms and legs? Do they have motion?
No,
they flop down?
I thought they were just completely flop. Yeah, like that's. And that's a good example of like the story. Like it doesn't give you a full description of their bodies. So like, I kind of just inserted that they were just completely flattened out, and so they're just like drooping all over the place. But it doesn't say that.
Yeah,
I just envisioned that.
Like because it's not said, the first thing that came to my mind is straight up a frickin' pancake made out of meat.
Oh god,
with like an eyeball on it.
Yeah. Like that's that like their bodies have been contorted, like not just pressed, but contorted to like flatten out like a pizza, like pizza dough.
No, it's like the I was gonna say it's like a cookie cutter situation where like there's some sort of like mold that they're put in, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, like I like the reason I use pizza dough is because like usually pizza dough comes in like a little ball or something like that, and then you spread it out to make it flatter, like that.
Yeah.
So like it's the same thing. Like even if it's like a human shaped pizza dough, like you flatten it out, and it, like it's going to like conform to a more circular pancake-esque shape. Yeah.
So if it said like human-shaped pancakes, would that have been?
No, because that's still silly.
Yeah, but I mean, like
it would be better if like essentially the the bodies are flattened, the heads aren't as flattened, and all their limbs just kind of drooped like uselessly at the sides.
Yeah.
So there's like this. There's 6 sets of limbs just all the way along the side of it.
Mm-hmm. So in this case, like I feel like to make it scary, to keep it scary for you, we need more description and less like an analogy, because that's really what the pancake is serving as. It's an analogy to give you a visual of like, this is a human, but he's been turned into a pancake in that he's been flattened down to the point where he is 4 to so inches in thickness, and he's still alive. Like, that's fucking terrifying. And then what's worse is that he's been stacked. His entire family's gone through this process and been stacked and drizzled with
maple syrup.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though that doesn't happen.
And like a giant slab of butter at the top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like, yeah, no, like I get you. Like that. I both understand where you're coming from. I don't necessarily share the same kind of thing, because like I read the pancake part, and I'm like,
how did you envision them? Did you see like take a front shot of a human, switch down like arms out, like
just flop down on the ground, like maybe like rolled up, maybe their arms are rolled up a little bit, or just like pushed to the side so that it's like not it's not just splayed across the ground, but like basically flat, and then just like put down like leaves onto on each other, like kind of like a little like stack of leaves, because leaves also have like kind of outward spots that are appended, kind of parts of appendages depending on what you use. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's like I got grossed out and disturbed by the mention of that people were pancakes now, because of like I went with they're humans, but they're flattened like pancakes. It's not that they are pancakes; they're like pancakes. And it's like,
them bringing up pancakes is like they say that more than the actual descriptor of what they look like. And if it was said like the arms have been severed or something, so they don't even have arms and legs. So it's like I wish I knew what was going on with their legs, because without that, they're more pancake-like because they don't have these weird appendages.
Yeah, they're just a like flattened out head and torso.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that would work really. I think. Yeah, there's ways that you can make it a little bit creepier without using an analogy, because an analogy is good in some ways, but like we said, it's a double-edged sword, because it's either creepy for some people and then silly for others.
Yeah, but what it should do is like lead with all the creepy description stuff.
Yeah,
and then at the end be like they're stacked together like a grotesque pile of human pancakes.
Yeah,
but like after all the descriptors, so the creepiness is already there.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on from there.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I think that was a really good like constructive dialogue on like our two opposing opinions. It was actually in a amicable way. We're not like yelling at each other. I don't understand you.
Not that time.
No.
Maybe this time. So, probably not. This quote is, Miss Bammer arrived, drawn by sound. Before she saw the stack, she told me that I had screamed and she came to help, but I do not remember having done so. So this is laid out to say almost like she heard something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she probably just heard the pancake scream.
Yeah. Also,
but he's not even cluing into that. He's saying, like, I don't remember screaming, but she said she heard me scream. But he's not like, she must mean the pancake that just screamed.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and to his credit, he could also have been in shock at the time. Like, seeing that grotesque scene, you just start tunnel visioning and just, like, don't realize what you're doing. Like, you lose control of parts of your body.
So he's remembering it scream, but he's not remembering himself screaming.
Yeah. Or it could be that, again, since it's kind of alluded at the end, that potentially she is the killer, or at least affiliated with the torturer. Not the killer, the torturer. That she could have made that up as a excuse to come downstairs. Although I was kind of confused by the scene, because why wasn't she behind him the whole time? Like,
because he said, "Stay the fuck up there."
Oh, I guess he did say that.
That she finally listened that time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was just like kind of surprised that like. She came, like, after, like, he went down there, she was there, suddenly she came down as well. I was like, oh, weren't you beside him all the whole time? Okay, never mind.
Yeah. And remember, she is the murderer. She's the killer here. She's the horrible. So she's like, okay, you go down there and experience what I laid out for you by yourself, and then I'll come down and ruin it.
Yeah.
Like, this is all going to plan. And that bleeds into my next notes about the ending. So, Stacy was The maker of the pancakes. I saw it coming from the get-go.
Oh, okay, so you saw it. I did not catch it.
Because it's essentially, after 20 years, like, the confession thing is her confession. Saying, like, it took, like, essentially saying, sorry it took me so long, but your pancakes are ready.
Oh.
And takes him directly over to see the pancakes.
Yeah.
And that's why she was not grossed out. That's why she wasn't throwing up.
Yeah.
Like, there was like 100 signs that pointed it to me.
Yeah. To be fair, I was dead set on like either the sedative, the guy with the paramedic with the sedative, or the interviewer himself. But I think that was because we'd recently, as in like a few months ago, had read a story by Stephen Shorter. Where
Shorter story.
Yeah, one of the shorter stories, the one with the photograph stuff and like the dolls, and how the journalist or the guy getting the teacher, the ex-teacher's statement, ended up like kind of like hinted that the person giving the interview was the killer, and so I was like, oh fuck, it's the interviewer, it's the killer again. The interviewer's the killer again.
Mm-hmm. But either way, in regards to the ending, when I was getting through the meat and potatoes of the story, and it's getting to the point with them getting there, I'm essentially thinking, okay, there's going to be 3 ways that this is going to go. Stacy's the killer, and she brought the cop there to see her pancakes. 2, the interviewer is the killer, and Hobbit and Stacy are the next 2 victims. Mm-hmm. Or 3, the killer's actually gone, and the family died of starvation, case closed.
Yeah.
And they went with number 1.
Yeah, so that was actually a really good catch on your end.
Well, I mean, there's only so many characters. And they're, like, I almost would have preferred just the killer's gone, and they're dead in there. Oh. Like, they died of starvation after living for X amount of years like this. Yeah. Leaving it open because the killer's still out there.
Yeah, my one issue, actually, with the fact that Stacy is actually, like, we don't really know how old she is.
Yeah, like, there's no indication of age.
There's no even, like, hint or any, like descriptor. It kind of does, because I'm just like, is she the killer, or is she the torturer, or is she an affiliate to the torturer?
The issue...
Like, is he still... sorry.
Yeah, the issue is that there's no indication of age, and you're led to believe that the reporter is interested because of the 20-year anniversary. Yeah, and they might not have been around when...
And, like, that's reality. Like, people obsess over, like, cold cases like that all the time. There's hundreds of podcast episodes of, like, true crime cases and stuff like that that are still cold. Like, our culture has an obsession with, like, creepy, like, missing persons and, like, cold cases like that. So, totally believable that she would just be another one of those people that's interested in the case.
Yeah.
But, sorry, were you going on more with that, or?
That's basically it. Like, it sort of alluded to the fact that she was younger because of the renewed interest in a 20-year-old case. Yeah. And
honestly, the way I see it, like, it says that she's, like, written books and shit. Like, she's not young.
Okay, yeah, I must have glossed over that, because I kind of just imagined this, like, 20-year-old, 20-something, like,
probably because they said, here's a blonde, her name's Sarah. There you go.
Yeah. So it is Sarah, isn't it? Damn it.
Stacy.
Oh, it's Stacy.
Regarding...
Thanks for tripping me up, gamer.
You're welcome.
But yeah, no, like, it is, unless you just give me a description, I'm going to, we're going to have our own assumptions, and sometimes those assumptions are going to be dead wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's either a good thing or a bad thing for your story, because otherwise you either leave the person like, oh, or like, fucking should have told me something that was different.
Mm-hmm. Also, she's not actually a reporter. So she could be any freaking age.
Yeah,
But yeah. And, I don't know if it's cool or not that, like, this monster of Stacy, her whole thing is essentially cooking people. Is that almost, like, sexist in a way? No. That it's like, it has to be cooking. It's weird. It doesn't have to be cooking, but it's just weird that, like, there's so few creepypastas we read where, like, the woman is the evil. It's most of the time, like, a woman gets killed or a woman is the protagonist. There's not many female lead monsters.
Yeah.
And one of the first ones I read has to do with cooking. It's weird.
That's a weird... I don't know. I don't really see it that way, but okay. Like, it's just a weird, like, thing to point out. I guess, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, Gordon Ramsay, come on, you'd say it's still raw.
damn it.
I'm not saying she's a good cook. I'm just saying it's weird.
God. I guess. I don't know. But hopefully we'll find more. But hopefully we'll find more.
Because can you think
diverse? Jane the Killer?
Doesn't count.
It kind of does.
She's a freaking, what's the term? Miss Female Main Character situation? I forget the...
Only kind of, but yeah.
It's literally you take Jeff the Killer and change the name.
Yeah, basically.
Just like Batgirl.
I feel like there are...
And Toadette.
Yeah.
Although Nintendo countered that, saying that toads don't have genders.
So why is there Toadette then?
She's a toad.
Okay.
They don't have genders.
That's fair. All right.
They're just toads.
Or is it, like, what is it? Bowserette or whatever?
That's going down a whole...
Yeah. Oh, the crown thing?
Yeah.
That's different.
But yeah, I don't know, we'll have to look at that. I'll maybe keep an eye out for those kinds of... Or any listeners who have stories that involve a monster that is a dynamic, not just a dude. Or is
Raghead.
Yeah, but Raghead is something I've created.
It's a creepypasta.
I haven't posted it yet. I still gotta edit it and finish it and make it
edit that out.
Oh god. But yeah, no. Yeah, if you have some creepypastas that have a really cool female monster or villain, by all means, let us know because
it's usually just dudes are horrible, it's a genderless creature of monstrous looks, Yeah.
So yeah, let us know. Leave us an email or a comment somewhere that with it, preferably a link as well, because links are good.
Yeah, because sometimes it's impossible to find things just by Googling.
I actually found the Fortnite one. It's not the donator; it's called the donation.
Oh,
but I can't find a written version. There's only the guy basically wrote it and then had somebody read it on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah, but they didn't post it anywhere written, as far as I can tell. But anyway, that's not the story. That's not the Pancake Family.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's the end of my notes.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It regards to the ending.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So on to final thoughts. This was a surreal story for me. Kind of Lynchian in a way. A little bit of Cronenberg, like I keep saying. And I mean Lynchian, like David Lynch, like the guy who does really weird, dreamscapey, almost or just weird reality kind of horror. And then Cronenberg, because, well, he does a lot of really body horror shit. And that's really what got me in this story, is the body horror was done really well for me. My body is still itchy from the description of how they were pressed down and stuff like that. Ugh.
I have to reread that.
Though you do have to stretch your disbelief a little bit with the story, just because that's it is a little uncanny, uncanny. But then horror stories have that gift of taking something that wouldn't happen and trying to make it believable or real, or at least making it creepy for the imagery. The story is both very creepy and also kind of tragic in that way that human suffering and to the extreme in horror can pull off. I also felt kind of sad for the pancake or the Driscoll they're not the Pancake Family, they're the Driscoll family.
They are now pancakes.
They are now pancakes. The end twist was good. I didn't see it, unlike my co-hosts or co-host. I don't know if Mikey caught on to it either. Did you catch on to it?
He hasn't really said his opinion.
Yeah.
Well, then I didn't see it coming. I was like, so they're the killer? To me, it wasn't really needed.
Yeah,
there was enough creepiness with the whole Pancake Family itself that you didn't need to know, oh, this is the killer. The killer could have been gone.
Yeah, it could have been like we said, that
3 ending
possible.
Yeah,
that third ending would have been perfect.
Yeah. But it was technically the killer is still out there because she's gone.
Yeah,
and that wasn't even her name, so she could be anyone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I thought the interviewer was behind it.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a mystery surrounding Miss Bammer, if that is her real name, which it isn't. We don't get a clear, like I said earlier, we don't get a clear age. So we don't even know if she's the original abductor or perhaps just a servitor to them. For that matter,
You keep mentioning that. You don't think she's possible of doing it.
Well, no, it really just depends. Like, I was really stuck on the fact that I thought she was a lot younger than she obviously has to be for the story, because I was thinking like a 20-something reporter, but so I was thinking like maybe like, well, it happened 20 years ago, so she wouldn't really be like old enough to do it. But
even if she is 20, maybe her mom started it and she was helping her this entire time.
In which case, servitor type, or like an accomplice, to the torture and stuff like that.
So it's possible, but age isn't really said.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Is just like I feel like maybe her age should have been not even like, I don't have to say like she's a dame of 25 or whatever. Like just have like some kind of descriptor that shows like how old, like roughly like a ballpark of like how old she was. Just give it into that. Because we know that like...
Or instead of saying reporter, say a retired reporter.
Yeah, that would work.
Just like one word.
Another retired occupation.
Yeah.
Because that shows, like, again, like, the retired detective, like, we kind of all assume that he's, like, in his 50s or so, or, like, and then even later, it's like, I'm retired now, like, I'm not a strapping young man anymore, like, this shit's gonna haunt me for the rest of my days, like, how long I have left. Mm-hmm. Like, that kind of thing, yeah. But yeah, the ending, and, like, for that matter, like, regardless of all that stuff, a lot of the info is just left enigmatic, like, about the killer and, like, about, like, their motives and stuff, and I'm fine with that, honestly, at the end of the story. Like, it was a good kind of, not true horror, or not true crime, but, like, again, it's a crime horror, essentially, that's going on here. Like, this, like, not serial killer, or not serial torturer, but, like,
no, she didn't put them in
a spree.
She didn't cut them into little pieces and put them in a bowl full of milk. No.
Yeah. You went there.
I did. All right. That's her next murder. The serial torturer.
God.
The serial family.
So the story, for being a transcript of a dialogue, a statement, it's competently done and is ended rather well for me. So yeah, I recommend the story. It was okay. I recommend the story. I'm going to revoke that for a second. I recommend the story if you're into body horror, like if you're in that kind of thing. Because not everybody's into like visceral body horror. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you're into like the like creepy kind of crime body horror stuff, like I fully recommend the story. If you just want to be grossed out, go for it. So yeah, Mikey, what do you got? What are your final thoughts?
Well, it's disturbing, and for that I give it points.
Well, that's good.
It's not something you want to read after having just eaten.
Specifically pancakes, too.
So
we did just eat meat pancakes.
Yeah.
And I sat down here and talked about it. That made burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious.
Burger patties. Mm-hmm. Made of human... I mean, what?
Yeah.
And if you want to be disturbed and or grossed out, then this pasta may be for you. I'm only going to partially recommend it because my lunch didn't agree with it.
That's fair. All right.
Really?
Yeah.
So if we made something else, like waffles,
we should have made pancakes.
Pancakes.
Yeah.
We had meat pancakes.
We did. Yeah.
It's really the most accurate we could have done.
It's really true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that could have been like the carrot. I guess no, you really couldn't. I don't know. Like
what we should have done? Mm-hmm. There was enough burgers up there. Should have had a stack of burgers and put maple syrup over them.
And then take that picture, and that's going to be the title card.
Yeah. Pretty much.
But yeah. All right. So gamer.
Yep. Well, as I said before, the lead up to the reveal was better than the reveal itself, at least personally, because the word pancakes and stack and everything kind of, it pulled me back out. As much as it was pushing me in, it pulled me back out. So all the work it did up to that point was, some of it was negated. In regards to body manipulation into food, I feel like freaking, what was it called? Pinkie Pie? Did it better? I was honestly more creeped out by the My Little Pony creepypasta we read, where she turned them into cupcakes.
It has been 5 years. I had forgotten about that story.
Yeah, it's because, like, it just looks like a cupcake, but it's made of people. And that is scarier than an actual, like, flattened to cartoony lengths. Like, you compared it to Looney Tunes and Roger Rabbit.
We did, yeah. you've seen that scene where like the one gets like
remember.
steamrolled and then he's completely flattened and then gets up again because he was human. You thought he was human, and it turned out he was a toon.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
But yeah, no, like horror, like again, like the kind of like bait and switch of like basically like cooking people into food is always more. It is a little bit. I think the reason why it's more horrific, especially like for you and for a lot of people, is because it's not cartoonish. It's something that could happen. I've seen it happen in the paper.
Yeah.
Like there was a guy in British Columbia a couple of years ago who killed a bunch of prostitutes and fed them to his pigs, and then gave the pig meat to family members and friends.
Yeah.
That's kind of disgusting. And then he got caught, and when somebody found some bones in the pig pen. Or like a guy who in like Toronto recently was found. He killed a bunch of men in the downtown area. Cut their bodies up and put them in potted plants and so that, and gave them to friends and family and like people who bought them. Mm-hmm. And like
people bought them.
Well, they didn't know it was. They unknowingly like bought the stuff.
They bought the plant.
And didn't like pull it out of out of the pot to like transplant it. They kept it in the pot, but the bottom of the pot there was a decomposing.
Oh, I thought you meant like there was it's a pot with dirt and there's literally like an arm sticking out of it.
No. It was the parts like the meat and stuff that was put in the bottom of the pot.
Okay,
yeah. And
I was very
like
confused until now.
Like it's not really a food thing, but it's still like kind of giving somebody a hidden.
But that's a secret word right there, hidden.
Yeah,
it's the fact that it's so out there and in your face in a cartoony manner that it didn't resonate with me personally. Yeah. I would rather it be turned into something that you can't tell it's human anymore.
Yeah, and the problem is like if you do that, like you kind of like part of the more visceral, disgusting thing about this story is that works for the horror element is that they're still alive. Like we could easily have this be that they were basically ground up and put into pancakes. That like just giant pancakes, and like that's the display that you find is these pancakes. And then you look in and like there's an eyeball that's poking out of the batter or something like that. That would be fucking gross.
But that also wouldn't make sense for the whole like I'm sorry it took so long to do it. Like no, I get why it took so long now.
Yeah,
because they got turned into pancakes.
That's what I'm saying is that the counterpoint to it is that like having it hidden. Like I don't know like how you do it to keep them alive.
I'm not saying the Pancake Family has to be hidden. I'm just saying, in the past, I've preferred like it's more of a surprise when there's something that seems innocent and normal, and then it has dark, like background to it. You know.
Gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, the title itself just kind of partially ruined it for me.
I mean, yeah, like going into this, I was like, what am I about to read?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's called the Pancake Family. Is that like, are we going for like Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Or no, we're going for like House of a Thousand Corpses with the Firefly family, like just a family of killers, or are we going with like something more descriptive? And we got the more descriptive part.
Also, the title kind of gives it away.
It does, yeah.
They're pancakes. Like I get it, but
done. They got turned into living pancakes.
Like something like a family stack. There's something. There's something else they can use that doesn't immediately give it away. Like there's going to be something pancake related, whether they're killed and turned into actual pancakes or what we got with the living pancakes. Something of a stack of pancakes is going to happen.
They could be called the Stack Family, and then like the family's called the Stacks.
Yes,
and then.
That's way more subtle.
Then they were made into pancakes and stacked. I was like, oh.
Yes, I would actually have liked that a lot more.
The killer has a sense of irony. That's the worst. The character has a personality to a point where like he has a sense of humor, a morbid sense of humor.
Yeah.
That would like. I personally
like the next one. The next one's like the family called like the Smiths, and he like blacksmiths them into like an anvil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I mean, like this is gonna make me sound like a psychopath, but like I personally like killers that have a sense of humor, that like have that pick people
for
victims because of their naming convention kind of thing. I actually have a story we're eventually get on for plot growers.
We just spoil it now.
Not really. But like there's the reason their victims are picked as a theme, like or like there's a theme to their killings, and it's like the similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing it's like the Pancake Family as a title, it gets you interested. Like, what's this about? Like, this is gonna be really gross or weird, but it kind of spoils the main theme or like the main like revelation. At the
Because
end.
of the title, I went in with really low expectations,
Yeah.
and all the build up to it, it was raising it.
And then
It didn't drop it to kill it. It's not a Spyro EXE situation where it's just ruined. It's not bad. It's just it could be a lot better.
Yes.
Like, for example, the reveal of them, have them be alive and everything, fine. But I personally would like something there to show that this was very recently set up. Because when I first read that, I thought they were sitting there stacked for years.
But no, they
Like, have, for example, put what could you do? Like, put freaking candles stuck in the top of it.
and fresh
That are
candles.
freshly lit. Like 20 of them, because it's a 20th year situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Pancake, like people do that for like birthday. Sometimes they just have like a birthday pancake or like thing pile. Yeah,
And like have it set up like it's a celebration.
or have like candles.
really-
Have candles escorting you down the tunnel to the basement area.
Yes.
Like, and then you get to that. Like, yeah, like that would be really fucking like
To show that someone recently set this up for you. Because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, Miss Bammer did assumedly did all this for him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's actually really. I really like that idea.
So good premise, but not a flawless execution in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean not like poorly executed.
No,
like some
not at
stories
all.
have done, but like not like perfectly. No, didn't quite sink the landing.
Yeah. So in its current form, if you see things if you unfortunately see things on a comical side first before
Maybe not.
horrible side, then it might get ruined for you. So I can't recommend it. But as the cultist said, if you like body horror and you focus on that first, you'll enjoy it more. Mm-hmm. But personally, I for someone like me, I can't recommend it because you're not going to get scared of it. But the idea behind it is good.
Yeah.
And with a slight twist to the execution, it would be a recommendation.
All right. Fair enough. I think this has been like the most civil episode we've had where we...
Fuck you!
Jesus! There we go. We're back to form. All right.
I feel better now.
All right.
I've been holding that in.
Oh, clearly.
Just keeping it compressed inside me. Like a pancake. Of anger.
All right. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can also leave us... emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like to discuss on the show. If you'd like to help, or if you'd like to get a hold of us on Twitter, we're on there at Mikey is at the E stands for evil. Gamer and Yellow is at the Gamer and Yellow without the W because they took his last character.
Because my name is one letter too long.
Yes. And you can also get a hold of me at Review Cultist. And if you'd like to help support the show, you can go to Patreon, look up Dente Rigamortis at Patreon, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, extra content, early access, access to our Discord channel because we're trying that out. Just let us know. Give us a hand if you want. We don't bite much.
Maybe not.
I don't know. Anyway, and to our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and as always, we very much appreciate that. And to the listeners and the authors of these stories and the show, thank you immensely, because without you guys, we wouldn't really have much of a show, either without your listenership or without your stories.
Without your writership.
Yes.
I coined that
authorship.
last time, I believe.
Authorship is actually more accurate, because it's also a word.
Is it?
Maybe.
Is it actually?
I think authorship is actually a word.
It is now. Fuck it.
Also, we have a Redbubble account now, so you can actually get a hold of get merch, at least of our Al Dente logos, and I'm planning on adding a few more logos or like character images and stuff that you can have on a shirt, clock, towel, prints of it. You can have a mug. I'm actually bath curtain, the scarf. I'll show you guys afterward because I just recently put it on there. But yeah, go to Redbubble and check out the Al Dente Rigamortis merchandise.
I should make
stickers. There's stickers, man.
Could I design the scarf to be like a Gamer in Yellow Sindana?
Oh my god!
Like from Warframe.
You should.
Like Emperor.
I'll find the. Hey, we'll
talk about it later.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, once again. thank you guys for listening, for writing these stories. I don't feel like we say that enough because that's what this podcast is based on. So, thank you. Until next time, I've been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
This has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
For tonight, we dine on pancakes!
Yeah. I mean, they're usually breakfast in the morning.
What's up, Mikey?
Oh, I'm seeing mist.
There's a fire happening outside.
No, it's because it's sunlight.
Yeah,
and
the
like
sun.
and our neighbor's like roof. Yeah, we see it on the
Oh,
other
that's
side. too.
literally just coming off the roof.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Look. You can look at it on the roof side of the house too.
What?
And if you went across, if you went over to the other side of the house, you see our neighbor does that too, and I'm sure ours is doing it even.
That's neat.
That's nature right there.
That's pretty. It's no kind of.
It is. It's nature.
It's nature interacting with not nature.
No, it's the nature of like how evaporation works.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat.
All right. Anyway.
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 It is pretty neat.
All right. Anyway.